Imagine a world where the very person who is supposed to protect you becomes the one trying to sell you away. A shocking case in Florida has left the community in disbelief as a mother is accused of attempting to sell her own daughter for just $500. In today's heart-wrenching story, we dive into the disturbing case of Jessica Woods, a mother from Florida who has been charged with aggravated child abuse, child neglect, and attempting to sell her daughter for $500. This tragic event raises questions about the safety of vulnerable children and the importance of stronger measures to prevent such horrific incidents. Join us as we uncover the details of this case and look into how the system can protect children from those they trust most. Jessica Woods, a Florida mother, was arrested after a series of shocking events that led law enforcement to intervene in a disturbing case of child abuse and neglect. The arrest took place when local authorities received a tip that Jessica was allegedly trying to sell her own daughter for $500. This information was quickly acted upon, as the case involved a vulnerable child, and the gravity of the situation demanded an immediate response from law enforcement. The police, after receiving the tip, launched an undercover investigation to determine if the information was credible. During the investigation, it became clear that Jessica was involved in a transaction to exchange her daughter for money. According to reports, Jessica was allegedly in a desperate financial situation and was attempting to sell her daughter to cover some of her personal debts. This attempt to exploit her own child for money led to her arrest. Jessica Woods was charged with several serious offenses, including aggravated child abuse, which refers to the act of causing significant harm or injury to a child, whether physically or emotionally. In this case, the emotional harm inflicted on her daughter was significant, as the child had been placed in a deeply unsafe and traumatic situation by someone she trusted the most. Additionally, Woods faced child neglect charges. Child neglect occurs when a caregiver fails to provide adequate care, supervision, or protection for a child, thereby endangering their welfare. By attempting to sell her daughter, Jessica not only neglected her parental responsibilities but also put her child in extreme danger, exposing her to potential exploitation and harm. The most shocking charge against Jessica was attempting to sell a minor, which is a severe criminal offense. Selling or attempting to sell a child is illegal in every state, and it violates both state and federal laws designed to protect children from exploitation and trafficking. This charge alone carries significant legal consequences, as it is treated as a form of human trafficking. The investigation revealed that Jessica had made arrangements to meet with a potential buyer for the exchange, which is when law enforcement intervened. Officers arrested her on the spot, preventing the deal from taking place. Following the arrest, Jessica was taken into custody, and her daughter was placed under protective care by Child Welfare Services. The arrest of Jessica Woods highlights the dark reality of child exploitation and the importance of swift action from law enforcement to protect vulnerable children. As the case unfolded, it became a powerful reminder of how essential community vigilance and law enforcement efforts are in preventing such tragic incidents from occurring. Jessica Woods is a 34-year-old mother from Florida who lived in a small, quiet suburban neighborhood. She had been living in this area for several years, raising her young daughter. Before this incident, Jessica was known to struggle financially and was reportedly going through a difficult time in her life. She had no stable job, which made it hard for her to provide for her daughter and herself. Neighbors described Jessica as someone who kept to herself, often appearing stressed and overwhelmed by her situation. She faced several personal challenges, including financial debts that seemed to grow over time. These struggles likely contributed to her becoming desperate, leading to the terrible decision to try and sell her daughter for money. Jessica's situation before the incident was marked by isolation and mounting pressure. Although she had some family and friends in the area, it seemed like she was unable to reach out for help when she needed it most. Her financial struggles and emotional distress created an environment of desperation, pushing her toward a dangerous and harmful choice. Overall, Jessica's life before the arrest appeared to be filled with hardship, and this likely played a role in the tragic decisions she made. However, it was clear that despite her challenges, her actions shocked the entire community. When news broke that Jessica Woods had been arrested for attempting to sell her daughter, the reaction from the neighbors and the community was one of shock and disbelief. Most of the people living near her couldn't comprehend how such a horrifying act could happen so close to home. Jessica had been living in the neighborhood for years, and although she was known to struggle financially, no one ever suspected that she would be capable of something so disturbing. Many of her neighbors described Jessica as someone who kept to herself. She wasn't overly social, but when she did interact with others, she came across as quiet and stressed, but nothing about her behavior ever raised red flags. People knew that she had been facing tough times, particularly with money, but they assumed she was just another parent dealing with the common struggles of life. The idea that she would go to the extreme of trying to sell her child for money left them stunned. Some neighbors did recall noticing that Jessica's home seemed to lack the usual signs of a healthy family environment. For instance, her daughter was rarely seen playing outside or interacting with other children. A few people mentioned that Jessica always seemed on edge, appearing withdrawn or overwhelmed when they saw her in passing. But none of these small signs ever made anyone think that something so dark was happening behind closed doors. In the days following her arrest, the local community became a hotbed of discussion. People gathered in small groups, talking about the incident and expressing their sadness for the child who was caught in the middle of such a terrible situation. Many of the parents in the neighborhood were especially horrified, as they couldn't imagine how someone could betray the trust of their own child in such a devastating way. However, a few members of the community admitted that, in hindsight, there were subtle signs of trouble. They noticed Jessica's financial troubles seemed to worsen over time. Some had even heard rumors that she was trying to borrow money from different people, but no one ever thought it would lead to her attempting something as extreme as selling her daughter. In general, the entire community was deeply shaken by the incident. The idea that something like this could happen in their quiet neighborhood was unsettling, and it made them question whether they could have done more to prevent it. Neighbors expressed feelings of guilt, wondering if they should have reached out to Jessica or reported the small signs they noticed earlier. While no one could have predicted the severity of what happened, the incident left a lasting impact on the community, serving as a harsh reminder of the hidden struggles that some families face. Jessica Wood's daughter is a young girl, around 7 years old, who had been living with her mother in their suburban Florida neighborhood. Little is known about her personal life before the incident, as she lived a fairly quiet and isolated life. She wasn't seen playing outside with other children much, and people in the community noted that she often stayed indoors. Her home life was likely affected by her mother's financial struggles and emotional distress, but there was no indication that she was being mistreated or neglected prior to this shocking incident. After Jessica's arrest, the daughter was immediately taken into protective custody by Child Welfare Services. Authorities quickly stepped in to ensure her safety, as she had been placed in a highly dangerous situation. She was removed from her mother's care and is now in the process of being placed with either a temporary foster family or relatives who can provide a safe environment for her. In the aftermath of the arrest, the focus has been on her recovery and well-being. Counseling and support services have likely been provided to help her cope with the trauma of what happened, and to ensure that she receives the emotional and psychological care she needs. Going forward, the involvement of the police in Jessica Wood's case began with a tip that led to an undercover investigation. It all started when a concerned individual, possibly someone who had direct knowledge of Jessica's plan, contacted law enforcement and reported that she was allegedly attempting to sell her daughter for $500. The tipster, who might have been a friend, relative, or acquaintance, was troubled by what they had learned and felt it was necessary to inform the authorities before something terrible happened to the child. Once law enforcement received this alarming information, they immediately took it seriously, recognizing the urgency and danger involved. Since the case involved a vulnerable child, they couldn't afford to waste any time. The police launched an undercover investigation to determine whether the claims were true and to gather evidence that could lead to Jessica's arrest. During this investigation, officers posed as potential buyers and arranged to meet Jessica. This allowed the authorities to observe her actions and verify the disturbing nature of the situation. Jessica had allegedly been trying to sell her daughter to pay off personal debts, and the undercover officers witnessed her willingness to go through with the transaction. Once law enforcement had enough evidence that she was serious about her intentions, they moved swiftly to intervene and prevent the sale from taking place. Jessica was arrested on the spot during this sting operation, and her daughter was taken into protective custody. The undercover officers ensured that the child was safe and out of harm's way before arresting Jessica. The swift and coordinated effort between law enforcement and the tipster who reported Jessica played a critical role in preventing this terrible act from happening. After the arrest, Jessica was charged with aggravated child abuse, child neglect, and attempting to sell a minor. The police, working closely with child welfare services, ensured that her daughter was placed in a safe environment and received the care and protection she needed. The community was shocked and they learned how the police became involved in this case. Many of Jessica's neighbors were unaware of her financial troubles or the extent of her desperation. The fact that the authorities uncovered the plot and stopped it just in time reinforced the importance of vigilance and reporting suspicious activity. In this case, it was the bravery of the person who reported Jessica's actions that made the difference. Without their quick thinking and willingness to inform the authorities, the outcome could have been far more tragic. Law enforcement's swift response and the undercover operation they conducted ensured that a dangerous situation was defused, and a young child's life was protected from further harm. When a parent does something like trying to sell their child, it makes the child feel very scared and confused. Children usually trust their parents to take care of them, love them, and keep them safe. But when a parent does something bad like this, it breaks that trust. The child might wonder if their parents really love them or if they did something wrong, even though it's not their fault at all. The child might feel sad because they don't understand why their mom or dad would want to hurt them or give them away. They may also feel very alone, like no one is there to protect them. This can make them feel anxious and afraid of what will happen next. In these situations, it's important for other adults, like police officers and social workers, to step in and help. They make sure the child is safe and taken care of by kind people who won't hurt them. Even though it can be scary at first, these helpers work hard to make the child feel loved and safe again, so they can start to heal and feel better over time. In court, Jessica Woods will have to face a legal process where a judge and possibly a jury will decide what happens to her based on the charges she faces. Since Jessica is accused of serious crimes, such as aggravated child abuse, child neglect, and attempting to sell her daughter, the legal system will handle this case with great care because it involves the safety and well-being of a child. First, Jessica will have a trial where both sides of the case will be presented. The prosecutor, who represents the state, will show evidence to prove that Jessica committed these crimes. They might present witness testimonies, reports from police officers, and other pieces of evidence gathered during the investigation. Jessica's defense lawyer will also have a chance to argue her side, possibly trying to explain why she did what she did or challenging the evidence against her. If the judge or jury finds Jessica guilty of the charges, she could face serious punishment. 4. Crimes like aggravated child abuse and attempting to sell a minor, the punishment can be very severe. She could go to prison for many years because these are considered major offenses. Attempting to sell a child is also a form of human trafficking, which is treated very harshly under the law. In addition to prison time, Jessica could lose her rights as a parent, meaning she wouldn't be able to care for or have custody of her daughter anymore. The court will likely make sure the child is placed in a safe environment, either with relatives or in foster care, and Jessica might be required to attend counseling or other programs if she is ever allowed to have supervised contact with her daughter again. The court's main goal in cases like this is to protect the child and ensure justice is served. The legal system works to prevent these kinds of crimes from happening again by punishing those responsible and helping the victims recover from the harm caused to them. The case will also send a strong message to others that harming or exploiting children will result in serious consequences. People in the community, police, and schools all have important roles to play when it comes to stopping cases like child abuse and neglect from happening. By working together, they can help protect children who may be in danger and ensure that any signs of trouble are noticed early, before things get worse. There are several ways that each group can take action to prevent such situations and provide a safe environment for children. Neighbors and other community members can often see or hear things that might indicate a child is in danger, even though it's not always easy to recognize the signs of abuse or neglect. It's important for people to stay alert and pay attention to any unusual behavior in their neighborhoods. For example, if someone notices a child who looks neglected, doesn't have proper clothing or food, or seems to be fearful of their parents, it could be a sign that something is wrong at home. When people suspect that a child might be in danger, they should not ignore the situation. Instead, they can report their concerns to Child Protection Services or the police. Many states and countries have hotlines specifically for reporting child abuse or neglect, and these reports can be made anonymously to protect the person who is reporting the situation. By reporting their concerns, community members can help authorities step in to investigate the situation and, if necessary, rescue the child from harm. The community can also come together to support families who are struggling. Many parents who end up in difficult situations, like Jessica Woods, feel isolated and overwhelmed by financial and emotional problems. Sometimes, offering a helping hand, whether through financial assistance, emotional support, or connecting them with resources, can prevent these desperate situations from escalating. Local organizations and social services can help families get the support they need before things spiral out of control. Police officers play a critical role in preventing and responding to cases of child abuse and neglect. Law enforcement agencies are trained to handle cases where children are at risk, and they often work closely with child protective services to investigate reports of abuse. When someone reports a situation where a child might be in danger, the police can quickly step in to assess the situation, ensure the child's safety, and, if necessary, make arrests or remove the child from harmful conditions. One way that police can help stop these cases is by conducting undercover operations, like they did in Jessica Wood's case, where they posed as potential buyers to catch her attempting to sell her daughter. These types of operations are often used when there is suspicion of human trafficking or other forms of child exploitation. By gathering evidence and arresting the perpetrators, police can prevent more children from becoming victims of abuse or trafficking. Police can also help by conducting community outreach programs to educate people about the signs of child abuse and how to report it. Many people are unsure of what child abuse looks like, or are hesitant to get involved, but education can empower them to take action when they see something wrong. Police officers can hold workshops, visit schools, and work with local organizations to raise awareness about the importance of protecting children and the steps people can take to prevent abuse. In addition to education, having a strong police presence in communities can also act as a deterrent to those who might consider harming children. Knowing that law enforcement is vigilant and will respond quickly to any reports of child endangerment can make people think twice before committing such acts. Schools are one of the most important places where children spend their time, and teachers, staff, and administrators can play a huge role in identifying children who may be in danger. Teachers often see their students every day, and they are in a unique position to notice changes in behavior, appearance, or academic performance that might indicate something is wrong at home. For example, if a child comes to school with unexplained bruises, seems unusually withdrawn or anxious, or talks about problems at home, these could be signs that the child is facing abuse or neglect. In many cases, children may not come out and directly say they are being harmed, but they might give small clues that something is wrong. Teachers and school staff need to be trained to recognize these signs and know how to respond appropriately. Most schools have policies in place that require teachers and staff to report any suspected abuse to Child Protective Services or law enforcement. It's important for schools to have clear procedures for handling these situations to ensure that any concerns are addressed quickly and that the child is protected. Reporting suspected abuse is a critical step in stopping it and helping the child get the support they need. Schools can also help by providing children with a safe space to talk about their problems. Many children who are being abused or neglected are too afraid to speak up, either because they are scared of their abuser or because they don't know where to turn for help. Having trusted adults at school, such as counselors or teachers, who encourage children to share their concerns can be life-saving. Schools can create an environment where children feel comfortable and safe discussing their worries, knowing that the adults will listen and take action. In addition to identifying abuse, schools can offer resources and support to families who are struggling. Many schools have programs that provide free or reduced-cost meals, counseling services, or connections to local social service agencies. By offering these resources, schools can help reduce some of the pressures that families face, which may in turn reduce the likelihood of child abuse or neglect occurring. Schools can also teach children about their rights and how to stay safe. Programs that educate students about what abuse is, how to say no to inappropriate behavior, and how to get help if they feel unsafe can empower children to protect themselves. When children know what is right and wrong and understand that it's okay to ask for help, they are more likely to speak up if they are in a dangerous situation. By working together, the community, police, and schools can form a safety net for children who may be at risk of abuse or neglect. To be continued.